Hello, welcome to another Mindset Shift podcast episode. And today we have wonderful Able Wanamakok, which is a 16-year plus communication expert known in Asia as a TV presenter, motivational speaker, and award-winning coach. As a Hong Kong girl growing up in the US, her multicultural background allowed her to flourish in Thailand, where she performs not in one, but in 3 languages, and has graced international stages such as TEDx, Dell, HP, and Aruba. Able's coaches influencers, Miss Universe pageants, private and Fortune 500 companies, and high achievers. And her passion as a speaker and a communication coach is to help others go beyond ego by raising self-awareness, acceptance of self, and connecting deeply with others to create a greater world. And I can subscribe to that one, Able. So welcome to the show. And, how are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you. It's different when you read it out. And I feel like it was like a big ego trip, like, oh my gosh, who does she think she is, that kind of a thing. But thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you to the viewers for watching.
Well, not at all, Abel. Just wanted to say that, I'm fascinated, and I bet our listeners will be fascinated too about your background, about your journey. What is it that you're striving to achieve? And we all hear about, improving and making a greater impact in the world. So with that said, can you tell me a little bit more, really, like what got you involved in public speaking?
It's a path that I guess the universe has set up for me, because I always mention this. I never studied mass communications, broadcast communications in school. I studied business. And I grew up in my parents' restaurant business, so I thought I was going to go straight into hospitality management. And I was doing that for a while. But somehow when I came to Thailand, I got pretty much thrown into the broadcast communication. My first job was selling house, and that was for 4 months. And then that company had some issues, so I quit. And I was picked up immediately by a local newspaper called the Phuket Gazette at the time. So they had a secret project, which was called PGTV, so Phuket Gazette TV. And I had 2 jobs there. One of my job was to sell the ads in the newspaper itself, which now is a job that would not exist anymore because there are pretty much no more newspapers. And then the second job was to be the English-speaking news presenter. So I would have somebody write a script for me in English, and I would present it. And I got the job because I was an Asian-looking female who spoke perfect English. So, and I was a natural on camera, and that's how I started the public speaking journey, I guess. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. So from US to Thailand, and then engaging in a secret job that would allow you to work with us.
You called it a secret project X or something like that. Yeah.
Fascinating. So then you were working on 2 jobs. First job is selling ads, and second one being a presenter. And that what kind of gave you this jump start into this career as a public speaker and presenter.
Right.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you want me to talk more, because my career is quite long.
Please.
So I don't want to talk too much and then,
Well, I would love you to expand, because at that, like you said, this job doesn't really exist anymore. And these days, more other jobs are being created, like coaches, right? Like, people earning their living on the internet. The jobs that didn't exist before just start appearing left and right. So we live in a fascinating time, which is only going to accelerate. And how do you see this journey from actually accidentally stumbling upon this position that really ignited your passion, and where you're at right now?
Well, I can say that I definitely have a talent in communications. I mean, I've always had, since I had to work at my parents' American Chinese restaurant in Ohio. So I had to talk to a lot of different people. Plus, my multicultural background allowed me to be able to bend and understand people very easily, which was a very positive, supportive factor of my presenting career. So I did 4.5 years at the PGTV, while I was obviously selling ads at the time. And also, while I was doing that full-time job, I think after a year and a half or so, I started to get phone calls and people would ask me, is this Kun Able from PGTV? We have an event and we're looking for an English MC. MC means Master of Ceremony, so people who host events. And there would be, for example, like launches, parties, openings. And because Phuket is such an international place, back then, 16 years ago, when I started this, the only English speaking presenters or MCs had to be flown in from Bangkok, which means they have to pay, the organizer would have to pay for their flight, their stay. I mean, everything, it would cost so much more. And then somehow I was just there at the time. And that's how I started my stage MC career, where I host events and all kinds of events like conferences, launches, parties, something, along those galas and things along that line that I'm still doing today, even though I'm no longer reading news. And so PGTV started, and then I started to have MC work. And then after the 4 years at PGTV, I had my second child, so I had a break. And then after that, I was doing another 4.5 years, 5 years of live news on NBT Phuket. So I was doing live news because my ability to present and read the teleprompter and be a very quick speed reader, grown. And so that continued, and my skill and my ability continued. And from working only in Phuket to expanding to work and hosting events in Bangkok, and then it went to Hong Kong. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to go further. And then it was Singapore, and it was Malaysia, and it was Dubai, and it was repeat clients in different locations. And then that, after all of this, which I'm still doing, MC work, I'm still doing that, even though COVID have slowed down drastically the amount of work that I receive. Now I'm starting to go into coaching because I have become a master in communication. And I do not want to be too humble about this because I've always been humble my whole life. And I'm very excellent in communications. That's why I can be a news anchor. I can be a stage MC. I can be a voiceover artist. And I'm helping people to communicate better with the right mindset. Not just only presenting outward, but to understanding yourself inward as well. So coaching is also a part of this journey in my, I don't know whatever you want to call this. You can call this the mass communication journey. You can call it broadcasting journey. It's just all a continuation of the same line, the same umbrella, which is all under communications and speaking.
100% Able. Well, there's so many points to unpack, really. I would like to dive a little bit deeper into multicultural background. I don't talk about myself that much, but that's exactly kind of my path that unfolded in front of me. Growing up in ex-USSR space, ex-Soviet space, and then moving to United Kingdom when I entered the university, and then from the university, moving to Thailand, which is completely different environment.
Your background is excellent. It's so like you're so worldly, right?
I guess so. And it's hard to relate because there are not too many people like us, I suppose, that could say that, okay, I can speak 3 different languages, not because I learned them, from TV or from the apps or from the books, but actually being immersed in different environment, different culture, and experience it from the inside out. Now, this kind of t-shirts that you're putting on yourself, they're always on you, right? They're always influencing everything that you do. And when you mentioned like expert in communications, I would like to kind of you to unpack this a little bit more. And what do you consider to be an expert? How do you see it? What is an expert in communications?
I think it's somebody who understands the other side before you communicate. So I would really like to say that before I insert myself into a situation, I have already assessed the situation, meaning I know where is my position in the situation, whether I'm in a position of power where I am average or when I need to listen more. I always listen more than I speak, especially when I'm going into a situation. Because I learned this from my childhood of not being able to speak English. I think I mentioned to you this before, where between the age of 10 to 14, because I was so shy and I didn't try to speak and make friends because I moved to school so many times because my parents were moving. I became really good in observing body language and trying to understand what people are trying to say. What is their mood? What is the tone underneath the sound of their voice without knowing the language? So when I say that I'm an expert in communication, it's not just, oh, I speak excellence and I'm such a great person in influencing other people. You also actually need to understand other people. You need to understand where people are coming from. Or if you don't understand, you need to be open to understand and to accept other people the way that they are, so that you know exactly how to communicate with them in an open way. Just an example, as a presenter, especially on a stage where you do not know the backgrounds of all the audience, because the audience can be very, very diverse. You do not know their culture. You do not know any details about their background, their religion, their understanding ability based on the language that you speak. You have to just simplify and simplify and simplify your language. So instead of me throwing words out and trying to make myself look like I'm so smart, I use very, very basic, simple English to speak to people. I vary my tone, my volume, the dragging, the pausing, to get people to want to listen to my voice. And then my body language adds on top of that to allow people to trust me, like me, be willing to be open to me, and also want to listen to me based on how I present myself to them, because I cannot have a one-on-one conversation when I'm on stage. So those are some of the examples that I would say that makes me an expert, because I've been doing this for so long in so many fields, such as news presenting, script writing, being on a stage in multiple countries with multiple cultures and backgrounds in 3 different languages. That's why I call myself an expert in this field. And I would not dare to call myself an expert in any other field. So I will stay very humble in those fields, but I'm very good at what I do. And I'm very happy that I'm able to now use all of these learnings that I have to assist others, because that's what a coach is about. It's not about me. It's about helping others. So.
Beautifully put, Able. I love the answer. And, I can clearly see where your expertise is coming from. You're just oozing it. It's like trust, confidence, passion, speaking true, right? Clarity, which is extremely important. And anyone, I suppose, that the attention is drawn to that could see it if you go back and watch it. It's very clearly that the language itself is not the barrier to communication. It could be a hindrance, but the way you communicate basically, breaks down to a few things. It's your physiology, how you command your physiology, how you command your tone of voice. Yes. And only then comes meaning and language and patterns that you can craft with your voice and your body language, in a sense. And the body language might not necessarily mean that you're dancing around on the stage. It could be really just your facial muscles.
Don't ask me to do that, please.
Right. So it's absolutely of paramount importance that you master your tone of voice and your physique. And I bet that when you're coaching, you have specific set of tools that you use personally and with your clients to take control of your emotional states, to take control of your physique, take control of your tone of voice. Would you be able to share with us some of the things that you found, be kind of make or break things in your coaching and whenever you out there presenting?
Make or break related to the client, or can you be a little bit more specific about that?
Yeah, so I would say from your personal, on your personal journey, what are some of the tools that indispensable to you and that you use and honing before you, stepping into the stage, stepping into this coaching call? How do you prepare for the situation?
First of all, I need to understand what is my coachee or my mentee's needs are. It's the most important, because they are coming to me because they're seeking some guidance, some help. And I must try to understand their background. For example, okay, they are 40 years old, but they're not as successful as they want to be. And then I pretty much would just listen to them. Like the first session, before the first session, it would be like a where I'm trying to understand the other person, the coachee or the mentee. I'm just going to call them the coachee at this time. And I'm just listening to what is their needs, and I'm listening to the underlying reasons and their motives for why they're talking to me. And for example, this one client who is in her 40s, which is same age as me. She's exactly the same age as me. She's super energetic, very, very positive person, but her energy is everywhere. And when I say her energy, I observe it through listening to how she speaks, listening to the different things that she says she's doing. So her mind is like all over the place. Like, I like to do this. 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 And because of my life experience and understanding the underlying tone, the reason behind why she's saying all of this, I realized that, okay, she needs somebody to direct her energy in one path so that she can go further, because she wants to have her own business, but she's scared to have her own business because, for example, her father kept saying, money doesn't grow on trees. So she always had this lack poor mentality, which is what I had, my mentality of myself has improved in this aspect, but I'm still working on myself in this aspect. But so when I'm observing her, listening to her, and trying to understand the meanings and the motives behind what she's trying to say, that's how I can try to work with her in that aspect. I'm not doing any hypnotherapy with her. I do not have any NLP. I do not have any of those certifications. So I do not have any specific, like fancy tools. But what I help her with, for example, is I try to dissect how she sees herself. So I act as the mirror, and I would say, okay, so you want to do this. Why do you want to do this and this and this and this and this? And she's like, well, because I just love doing a lot of different things. And I said, yes, but where are you heading in all of these different directions? Like, where do you want to go? And then I would be more like the person who is looking at her from above and trying to tell her that this is what I see in you. And then I would try to get her to understand herself, where she is in her position, and then slowly try to get her to understand how I see her and how she should also try to direct her energy in one or only two specific paths instead of 10. Because if she wanted, and her goal is to be more successful, more financially stable, you cannot be going in 10 different directions. You have to decide.
100%. Well, and you said something really important. You said something really important that I'd like to kind of encapsulate. So first of all, we're looking out for specific things. You have to know their needs. You have to understand their background. Where are they coming from? What do they want, right? Underlying reasons, motives, desires, right? Then you have to understand their fears, I suppose, and what the gap itself, what stops them from getting where they're looking to go. And only then you're able to dive into the active listening part, which is basically them convincing themselves that, first of all, there is a gap. Second of all, they want to get out of this. And third of all, there has to be an urgency attached to this. Otherwise, what's the point of change, right? It could be done next year, next life, or, whatever. So that's where the component of communications, like hands-on application, active listening, for example. And you mentioned something really interesting. So you listen to understand, not to respond. I think that would be an accurate assessment.
Yes, I am listening, like they would be talking the whole time, and then I would just be asking them questions so that I can understand more where they're coming from before I even do anything with them, because there's no point you're not rescuing them. You're just walking alongside them. That's how I see it. I'm not there to rescue you. I'm not there to heal your pain. You are there to heal yourself through my guidance and through me mirroring your thoughts and kind of reflecting back what I see in you. Because a lot of times people cannot see their own mental patterns. They cannot see themselves because they have only that mindset. They have only that perspective. And they have been in that perspective for a long, 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 long time. And their ego has been already set. And it's very difficult for them to see outside of that. And that's what I'm there for. Before I even insert myself, like I said, before I insert myself into any situation, even though I'm not coaching, I am listening and I'm evaluating and I'm observing what is going on. And it's only at a certain point when I feel like the coachee is not moving forward, that's when I start to push them. Like, okay, how many sessions do you need with me before you decide to change? Because everybody's pace or desire to change, or their resistance to change is different. So have to go with the flow of, each individual person that I'm coaching as well. Some people are very eager. They change so quickly because they trust me. And then some just like, I love what you're saying, but I don't want to change. And then some just say, you know what, Able, no, thank you. I don't want another session. Like I have those too. So, there are different kinds of people that I work with as well. And they're all very, very different people. And that's what makes it really fun, I think.
Absolutely. You also mentioned ego. Would love
Yes.
to kind of get your perspective. What is ego?
Okay. From my spiritual perspective, which is only what I learned recently, I became very, very spiritual and aware of my ego existence, because I was able to observe my ego from a higher self perspective. And I think I explained this to you a while back, but this would be a totally different podcast altogether. Ego is something that we're born into. We're born into a body. So what I believe is that we reincarnate, and I don't want to go into all of that, but this is what I believe, is that our souls recycle and reincarnate. And each time we choose a different vehicle, which is our body, we choose a different vehicle to insert our soul into. So if you are an advanced enough soul where you can choose your body, you choose. Otherwise, you are just automatically put into a situation where you are forced into a situation so you can learn lessons. The lessons could be about patience, about love, could be about giving, could be about jealousy, it could be about letting go. I mean, the lessons are endless, but I believe that we are born into, for example, my soul came into this body, Able or Hao Yin. And when I born into this body, I have all of these emotions attached to the name that was given to this body, which is Able or for Hao Yin. And when when I feel that we're in this body, we have a first person perspective. So we're no longer seeing ourselves as connected to other souls or other people. We are forced into this vehicle where we are feeling like we are an individual, totally separate from other souls, because we are forced into this body and we need to learn how to use our emotions to navigate this world that we live in, the third dimension on Earth. And through the ego, we learn how to be less selfish or more loving or more patient. And it's because we are forced into this state of mind where we can only see our perspective, because you cannot go into another person's body. Well, I mean, I can't anyways. Maybe some people can, but that's what I think of ego. And ego is also, in a more spiritual way, ego is the sense of self, the individual of you, the identity also. And when I say I help people to go beyond their ego, that is, you are learning to observe not only from your perspective anymore. You're starting to go back into your inner self to try to understand, why did I think this? This thinking is not helping me, but where is it coming from? And it's going back and it goes back and it goes back. And then you start to understand the root of your problem. And when you're able to do this, you're actually growing your reflection, you're growing your awareness of self. And when you start to calm your mind down more, you can actually be able to see in a different perspective from your self perspective, which is the higher self. And that's very, very hard. I only saw myself in that perspective physically twice. And that's I guess that's my limited perception and understanding of ego while I am in this body. So I don't know if maybe that was a bit too fluffy for you.
I don't know. That was beautiful. And the way I'm thinking about ego, it's a container. It's a container that's driven by the emotions, and emotion is energy in motion, right? So that's something that drives this vehicle, this container. But the thing is, this vehicle is constantly shaping, and it's molding, and it's moving. And sometimes when we encounter things out there that says, well, that's my limitation, that's when you get this jolt of electricity inside of you, and you're becoming stressed. And another way of saying is you could becoming frustrated, angry, resentful. So the negative emotional dynamic. So if you consciously observe your ego, if you consciously observe your patterns of behaviors, you realize that they are there for a reason. They are there for a reason to protect you, because that vehicle was an important piece. It's like an old car. The pieces of it is old, but pieces of it are extremely new and just fresh and still malleable. And the old pieces of car, of vehicle, they were extremely important at some stage of your life to get you where you are right now. Yes. So only by honoring and being very compassionate towards yourself, exerting gratitude for those part of you that are still there to drive you forward, you're able to achieve this state of flow, when you constantly using all the energy and attention, not on the parts that's stopping you, but at moving everything forward. When you realize that those are limitations, and in spite of your limitations, you building upon it, you striving forward and molding everything that comes in touch with your attention, whether it's an audience, whether it's a one-on-one conversation, whether it's any engagement with anything out there. Because ego itself, it's always asserting. That's how you are able to survive in this world. It's an instrument to cut things through, to dissect it. In order for you to see it, and whether to say, I'm going to absorb it, or I'm just going to discard it and pay no attention to it.
Yeah, and that's very hard. It's very hard to have a, what do you call it, to not react to the outside stimulus based on what you have been so conditioned to do in your past.
And absolutely true. The thing is, what happens if we are in chronic stress? We are becoming over vigilant, and extremely analyzing, so stuck in the head. And when it happens, when something grabs you in the wrong way, just like a vehicle, you get a little scratch or a little potential danger, you're activating your nervous system. Your energy is now focused on protection, which is also could be a fear, or it could be aggression, it could be resentment. So it is a protective mechanism. And it's really hard to create space for you to even see it sometimes.
Oh, yes. Extremely, extremely hard. Yeah.
So with that said, Able, because you have very unique set of skills, not only you understand what it means to actively listen on a deep level, because you've been on this journey yourself for many years, but also you're able to engage audience on a massive scale and present them idea that will enter, first of all, their hearts and then their minds. What do you think is the key component here? What would be the difference, I'd say, when you're working with someone one-on-one or having just a conversation, and when you're actively presenting?
When you're one-on-one, you are connecting to another person on a very deep level, and you know all the details about that person because they're sharing their problems with you. And you are working from a level of, it's definitely from the heart. I don't know how to explain this. It's just that when you're working on one-on-one with anyone, just like, for example, you have family, you have kids, you treat them differently from when you would treat an acquaintance. And an acquaintance in this aspect, for example, would be a huge audience where I am only showing a very small version of myself to them. The extrovert, the star, the leader version of me. So it's a very limited version of what I show them when I'm on a stage, because I'm there to work. I'm there to deliver a message. And the message is not mine because I'm not a speaker. I'm presenting something about myself. When you are a presenter, you are presenting something for somebody else. You're pretending. Sometimes you're acting a little bit. So there's a huge gap, the distance between yourself on a stage with the audience. And it requires different sets of skills, which is mainly about influence. And as a presenter and a leader, you have to have a stronger ego because you want people to listen to you. So the energy and the power that I have, for example, when I'm on a stage, it would be a very different personality or much stronger, energetic, extrovert Able that is on stage compared to the normal mother Able, the normal wife Able, the normal Able who is driving a car from one destination to another. So when I'm on stage, I speak and I expect you to listen, period. That's the energy I give. And I'm just telling you in a nice, polite, but very, because I'm speaking, I'm the one with the mic here. Please listen, let me continue. I will have that kind of energy. But when I'm a coach, it's totally different version of me. It's another version of me where I'm just listening and I'm connecting to another person from like deep in the heart. And I'm trying to understand what is their issue? What is their problem? And I would ask them questions. I would ask a lot of questions because that's a different dynamic. And I would because with asking questions, just like how I used to, that's how I lose the grip of my own ego. It was because I was asking myself a lot of questions. Why did I think this? Why did this thing come through? Why is this reaction linked to this kind of thinking? Why do I act like this every time I think this? And then why did I lash out? So I would ask the coachees the same questions and then try to get to the root. So it's totally different scenario and how I work with different people. But at the end of the day, it still incorporates understanding, knowing how to influence people, and of course, how to speak to them so that they're open to listen to your advice or your influence or your words, because people need to be open for me to be there. So the audience, the bigger the audience, the harder it is for me to open to them.
It's very clearly that's
for them to open to me. Sorry, for them to open to me because it's very difficult with a huge crowd. Very difficult.
It's fascinating because very clearly there is certain stages in presentation that you kind of guiding your audience through in order to achieve the best possible outcome. Even now, when you're explaining that you have to be an authoritative, and this is the kind of energy that you put out there, and me interrupting you, but you're saying, excuse me, I haven't done talking. That is the energy of the presenter. It's the energy of the authority that says, I have to say something and it's important to hear me right now. And this is the kind of energy that is, I think, paramount in certain scenarios like public speaking, maybe presenting, but it's sometimes it's a balance, an art in itself to balance it in terms of how much are you putting out there, how quick are you able to withdraw yourself or withdraw energy from the states and redirect it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the qualities of a good storyteller. The person that can guide through the experience, not only logically, rationally, not only exploring the problems on the surface level, but also being able to evoke the energy that's underlying these behaviors. And you positioning yourself as a public speaker on when you're talking from the stage, and I don't have much experience in that, I'm just guessing right now. It seems to me, depending on the what you're trying to achieve, a lot of maybe anchors, TV anchors will have a specific states of mind they want to cultivate, because naturally when we listen to this, we absorb it and we mirror it. So certain companies might have specific ideas what they'd like to cultivate. Am I in line with how it goes, or I'm completely wrong here?
I can give you an example. I would just give you an example. When I'm reading the teleprompter, there's no people there. There's no body there. It's just the camera with the teleprompter right underneath it, and the words are scrolling. And when I'm in that mode, I am a talking head. Yeah. But I'm a friendly talking head. Okay. I'm a human with emotions, but I do not insert too much of my emotions into the news because I am just presenting the news. So when I'm speaking, when I'm presenting the news, I was speaking a different tone, which is softer, smoother voice. I would say, good morning, everyone. And this is Able from NBT. Today is blah, 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 blah. And this is the top story. And it's very specific how I flow. It's different from the way I talk normally. It's different from the way I talk on stage because you are trying to get yourself into a mode where you are just a talking head with a nice, soothing voice that allows people to want to listen to you. So it's about controlling people's minds in a way through the way you speak. So there's the softer part, and then when you end, you kind of drag it out. It's a very specific way of speaking. Let's just say it that way when I'm presenting. And like I said, presenting, when I say presenting, I mean news anchoring, excuse me, news anchoring with the teleprompter in the news. That's another kind of talking. So if you actually, for example, go to my YouTube and you see my presenting videos on stage, I talk totally different. And then when you listen to me as a news anchor, I speak in a different kind of tone. And then the normal Able will not have this much projection. Right now I'm projecting. I am speaking louder than my normal voice when I'm speaking with you, because I'm also trying to add the extra energy so that the audience who are watching through the computer can feel it. And it's not like I'm talking like this and I'm just like leaning back and yeah, I'm fine. And, everything is great. It's a different kind of energy. There's so many different combinations of how you should be, what is expected by society based on what is out there, that you have to, for example, when I'm in a news anchor mode, I jump into the news anchor mode. And then when I'm a speaker, I'm talking about my personal stories, then I become the very vulnerable Able. And then when I'm a presenter, I am the leader, telling people to listen to me, but in a very controlled way, so that people want to listen to me similar to a news anchor. And then when I'm a voiceover artist, that's another, voiceover is similar to the news anchor. It's just very smooth voice and just trying to get people to listen to you so that they'll want to understand what it is that you're selling, something like that. I don't know if I even answered your question. I just,
you did. You did.
I just talked. I just talked. I'm sorry.
Please do more of this. Yeah, so it's very interesting. So I guess it's coming down to mindset. How are you able to attune your mindset to the specific situation? And it's really difficult because it starts with self-awareness. It's starting with the realization that you do have to prepare emotionally for the engagement, whether it's a conversation one-on-one or a presentation or news anchoring, whatever the situation might be. So I guess what do you find to be the most effective to kind of prepare yourself for the engagement? Do you have any specific technique or tools that you use to tune your mindset, to tune your nervous system and body towards to the engagement that you have to go through?
You mean like a presentation, like on stage, for example?
Let's say presentation on stage, or any interview, for example, because it becomes a conversation. What would be some of the tools or techniques that you use to prepare for this?
First of all is the non-glamorous part, which is, I would say, at least 80% of the work is done behind the scenes. The studying, the researching, the preparing of the script, the understanding of who your audience is, who you're going to talk to. Let's say you're interviewing somebody. What is their background? How to speak to them? You would not speak to a doctor in a very casual way because they're used to being treated a certain way. Let's say if you're talking to a group of kids, you have to use obviously very simple language. Let's say I'm doing a workshop and I would not be throwing out any sophisticated words. I would just try to relate to them as much as I can. And what I would do is I would put all my thoughts on paper. So everything would be processed. When I say process, it means I have my specific process, which is I put all my things down. I love to write notes. I love to write scripts, and everything has to be down. That's the blueprint of the event, of the speaking engagement, of the flow of the workshop, of the client that I'm going to talk to. Everything is written down first. Yeah. And sometimes there's not much to write if it's a client, but obviously there's a lot to write if I'm hosting a huge event in 3 languages. So everything is written down. And after everything is written down, I would practice alone. Like I said, in my pajamas by myself. There's no glamour in this at all. Okay. And this is the most important part, because you are not here on this earth for your ego. And I learned this over and over and over and over again through all the different aspects of my life. You learn something, you obtain something, and you're supposed to give it back, give it out. So my process is understanding what I'm supposed to push out, deliver out, give out in the best way possible, in the best techniques based on my body, my voice, my vocal cord, my body language that I learned with this blueprint. So I would practice and I would listen to myself talk. I would practice the script, especially if it's a very difficult one, like 3 languages. I would even go to look for a professional presenter who is in Thai. I would go and ask him to help say things out for me. I would buy apps. I bought a Cantonese English app to help me with Cantonese, because my Cantonese level is only 5th grade, 10 years old. And so I would study and practice and practice and practice until I feel very confident. And if it's only 1 language, I probably just do not even read the script anymore. Like, because I wrote the script, so I don't need to practice the script because I'm doing it for so long. But if it's like a 3 language event that I'm hosting in Singapore, I would practice, because the Singaporeans there have a high level of performance. You have to perform just like that. There is no waiting. They want you to perform, you perform. That's it. You have to just boom, you have to perform. If they say something to you in the earpiece, Able, just say something right now. Just say something to kill time. Then I have to say something to kill time out of the script. So I practice. And then I would send it to the event organizer. They would take a look, and I would always be very, very clear to tell them, this is just a blueprint. I do not read from my scripts. I glance. And I speak it my way. Writing version of the English is totally different from speaking version of the English. Speaking version adds energy, adds power, adds personality, adds tone, adds voice, adds body language. I mean, you cannot tell me how to do this. You can just say, I want this. I want this wording. And how I do it, just like an actor or an actress, how they perform, it's up to them. From their personality, from their experience, from their background, from their voice, because you cannot say, I do not like your voice, change your voice to be a man. Hell no, you can't, right? So you have this process, and then they come back and they say, okay, I like it, I don't like it, change. And then I always, like I said, over and very, very clear communication. And then I would go and meet them in person. We would have a meeting. And they would tell me what to wear. I mean, actually, I would know what to wear. I would, how to do my makeup, how to do my hair. And then we would have rehearsals. And then rehearsal, they were like, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, or don't do that, or don't do this. And I have to remember all of these. And then when you perform, you have 1 chance. You screw up, but you never get the job again. You will never, ever get the job again. You screw up 1 time. So you cannot make mistakes. And if the client are the very stringent, high demanding, like in Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, it's not so sabai like in Thai. You cannot make mistakes. In Thailand, even if it's high level people who do not allow mistakes because they don't understand the artistry of communication, sometimes you do say things wrong. I do say things wrong. Then you lose a job, and that's it. So it's about learning and trial and learning and failing and keep going. And people keep giving you opportunities because you're still pretty good, and you just keep going. And then that's how I get to where I'm at today. But it's those are the steps, the glamour part. It's like the last day of the whole planning. And however long the planning is, it could be 3 months, could be 1 week, could be 3 days, could be a few hours before the event I had before. So you have to really adjust and adapt to the experience, because some people will never, ever, ever understand what is required to do your job, and they don't care. So you just have to do the best that you can to help the other side understand your position without bragging, without, you're just communicating. What do I need? What do you need? How can I give? What do you want from me? How do I give you? And then afterwards, when the package is together, and the events and the lights and the stage and the sound and the other entertainers and everything else is done, I'm just keeping things rolling. That's it. That's my role. I'm just keeping things rolling. That's what a host does. That's all. You're not the star. You are one of the stars, but never think that you are the star and that people are there to see you, because I'm not Beyonce. I'm not Blackpink. So you have to keep that in mind, that you are there to work. You're there to work with a lot of different types of people with a lot of different background, different expectations, and you need to communicate, listen more and speak less, but you communicate and you let people know, okay, I don't understand. Can you say that again? I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Like I would just ask questions too with event organizers. So the steps are, writing the script, exchanging the script, getting the script approved, having meetings, making sure everything is understood, going to the venue to double check everything, have a walkthrough, have rehearsals, and then you do your hair and your makeup at the very, very last points. That's the only part where you're glamorous. So if you're seeking attention, this is not the job for you. Okay. I mean, you need a lot of talent, patience, interpersonal skills, and talent, and listening to those two to do this. So yeah, and that's my process, and that usually is the case, the flow.
It sounds like the process itself and preparation is very intense. There is a lot of preparation goes into this, and it also seems like a lot of people seeking to be a presenter just because it's glamorous. I've had people think that I do my work because I need attention. Okay. They don't directly say it to me, but they would be like, oh, look at you, you're promoting yourself again. And I said, well, I love my work. And I'm the product. I am the product. I am the service. I'm not cooking food for anybody. I am the service. So I have to promote myself. I love my work. And I'm really good at it. So I cannot dissect myself and say, okay, this is my arm and my arm. I'm going to be really rude. Interrupt you. Yeah. There is this specific intensity in whatever you're describing your work and the things that you do. So it seems like a lot of people taking you for granted. And you have to kind of defend yourself and your position and assert your sort of mindset of communications and how you see it's supposed to be done. At the same time, it looks like it's giving you quite a bit of frustration. No, it's not. I'm just somebody who has a lot of energy. Yes, there are times when I assert myself, but I don't do it very often because I'm pushing my energy out right now. And I am only showing you one perspective, which is whatever you're asking me, right? If you're talking to me over coffee at a restaurant, I will not talk to you like this because we're not over a computer. I do not need to give this much energy. Yeah. And I'm firm because I know what I'm talking about. So that's why I'm firm. And I also push out a lot of energy because it's what I'm used to doing as a speaker, as a presenter, as an MC, because I do need to overpower my energy so that people listen to me. So I don't think you are reading me totally correct, but there are some parts of it where I do have past pain from my past, anger, resentment that drove my success to this point. But I have let a lot of that go in 2020. But the energy that I have now is not from,
you must listen to me because I think you're stupid. No, not like that. I'm used to asserting myself in a certain way with high energy, because when I speak with force, when I speak firm, and I use my voice and my tone a certain way, people listen more. Instead of just picking up their phone any second they want during my speech and totally not listen to what I say. So why do you need to hire me, Eugene, if you're an event organizer? Why do you need to hire me, a professional speaker, if I cannot get other people to listen to me? Why don't you just speak and save your money? You don't need to hire Able. She's not cheap, you know. You can just do it. You have a voice too. You talk too. You have a body too. You have a body language too. Why don't you do it? There's a reason why I do this and not everybody do this. Is because there's a certain style that I speak that makes people listen. Not everyone, of course, but it does work. So yes, I do have a certain way that I project myself, especially when I'm in a certain situation. Podcast, news anchor, I don't speak like this because news anchor has to be like very soft, you know, like a little bit like, oh, da, 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 soft. And then, you know, presenting, totally different kind of speaking. But computer, because we are not in person and you cannot feel my energy, I have to project it out more, just like on a stage, because people are so far from me. They're not next to me sitting in a coffee shop. So if we meet in person, Eugene, I would not speak to you this loud, and I would not speak with you with so much force unless you trigger some anger within me, then I will.
Well, it's fascinating. And thank you for expanding on the so-called reading. It wasn't my intention to read you. It just seemed what you're explaining, pointing to this thing. So that was fascinating. Thank you for diving into this.
No problem. I think you said this last time too.
Yeah.
You mentioned this last time with me as well. Yeah.
Well, there is this intensity.
I do have anger and resentment in the past that drives me. This is me being very honest, because you're not able to increase your self-awareness if you're not honest with yourself. So I know my challenges. I know my problems, but the anger or the whatever that is in the past is much less. So to move forward as a coach, I cannot work from an angry energy or unhappy energy. I have to work from having released a lot of that, you know, like cleaning out your trash can kind of a thing, so that you can have a more stable, fixed foundation to work and give your energy to other people. Otherwise, people will not be attracted to you as a coach to help you, because you need help yourself. So how can you help other people? But I do push a lot of my energy out, because I have a lot of energy. Everybody, not everybody, but some people who are very sensitive, they say that. They said, you have a lot of energy. And I was doing a personality test kind of a thing. And I am the one that is a manifestation. Like I manifest my own energy. So I do not need a lot of people around me. Like I do not need to get energy from other people. I create my own energy. So this is how, and another aspect, if you're talking about it, I am building my energy so I can push it out to the audience. It's the same thing as when I talk to my clients who have fear. They have excitement, they have anxiety, they have frustration. These are all energy. And you use that energy and you collect it in a point. And then when it's time, you go on a stage and you shine. And that's what I mean by shine, is you pushing your energy out. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm pushing my energy out to you. High volume, strong projection. My voice is loud. I don't talk like this, and I'm tired. My legs are tired. My muscles are tense on my legs right now. And you can see that I exaggerate more. I move my hands more. And I don't do this when I'm just having a normal conversation with someone. I do not talk to my kids like this. Do not talk to my husband like this. He would go nuts if I talked to my husband like this of 24 years. So I'm in a certain mode, and I am creating my energy. I think that's another thing that you're feeling. I am building my own energy so that the audience can feel it more. Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yes. So, you know, if you listener, if you listener weren't able to be a face and voice of your event, your organization, your product. The links to contact Able will be down below in the description. Yeah, I mean, what is the best way to find more information about you, the work that you do, and follow up with you?
I think the easiest way is to Google me. Just go to Google and put Able Wanamakok. It's Wanamakok. And you will see the more popular things that I do. I'm a presenter on Google. But if you want to find me on social media, because my social media obviously have all the strings of the work that I have done, please go to MC Able, EMCEEABLE, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. I definitely use Facebook and Instagram more, Twitter not much. And you can find me there as a presenter and a speaker. But if you're looking for more the chill Able, the more calm Able, the more introvert Able, the one who listens more to help guide you, then go to Find Your Voice Asia, which is just one word, Find Your Voice Asia. And that's where you can follow me and see what I do. And if you're not sure if I'm able to help you, if you're not sure whether you need help, you can just contact me. I offer a 30-minute free consultation. No strings attached, just so we can understand each other first to see if we are right for each other, not in a romantic way, of course.
Thank you so much, Able. And all the links to contact you and information about you will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, your energy. God knows there was a lot of it. And actually showing us what it means to be a presenter and how it feels to be in different modes and states of mind to do your job or whatever is in front of you, whether it's presenting, TV anchoring, conversation, or even coaching. So thank you so much for coming. Hope to jump on some of the other, perhaps somewhere in future in other conversations that we can explore this a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking so many wonderful questions. I have actually never showcased or given examples of how I present on a podcast. And it's not easy to show people unless you see me on a stage or you're actually watching me, presenting. So it's not easy to understand what I do. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a glimpse of that aspect, which, like I said, it's something that I love. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it for so long. So
you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming, and speak to you soon.
Okay, thank you. ขอบคุณค่ะ